Hello? What are you talking about? I'm not late. It's only just gone. Okay, yeah, I'll be right there. Damn it, Muffbuster's gone. Sorry, I'm here. Oh. Hello, welcome to the Re-Review, the series where I get to replay and reassess games from my favourite gaming era. I'm Brian, also known as UKGN Zoidberg, and I probably get more enjoyment out of playing Amiga games in 2024 than I do out of the current crop of AAA titles. Way back in the early 90s, I used to be a writer for a number of games magazines, including GamesX and Amiga Action, and in this series I'm looking back at each one of the games that I reviewed, one at a time, and seeing whether or not I think the same thing about them. In this episode, the game that I'm going to be replaying is Guy Spy and the Crystals of Armageddon, which was developed and published by Readysoft Incorporated in 1992. When you consider how prevalent games development is in the country today, with the likes of Warner Brothers, Eidos, EA and Ubisoft all having major studios based there, not to mention countless others, it's perhaps surprising that it's taken me up to episode 45 of this series before I get to talk about a Canadian developer. Readysoft Incorporated were founded in 1987 by David Foster. Their offices were based in the Richmond Hill area of northern Toronto in Ontario, which is actually just a half-hour drive from where I was born in Burlington. Their first game for the Amiga was a knockoff version of Bomb Jack called Bomb Busters, as well as a music quiz game called Rock Challenge. They would, however, quickly become known for their home versions of the Sullivan Bluth arcade game Dragon's Lair. Essentially one long collection of what we now know as QuickTime events, these games featured stunningly animated stages where the player simply advanced the on-screen action by pressing the correct button at the correct time. As well as the 1984 release of Space Ace, Sullivan Bluth would go on to even greater success in their collaborations with Steven Spielberg, where they produced movies such as An American Tail and The Land Before Time. Converting such revolutionary arcade games to home computers was not a simple task, and the results earned praise for their presentation. The Amiga version of Dragon's Lair came on 6 discs, and even then it only covered the first half of the game. This prompted a follow-up to be released called Escape from Singe's Castle in 1991, and I reviewed that one for GamesX, giving it 2.5 X's out of 5. In 1990, Readysoft published the action-adventure title Wrath of the Demon for the Amiga. This was by Quebec-based developer Abstrax, and was perhaps unfairly compared directly against Shadow of the Beast. Maybe it was because both games featured multiple layers of parallax scrolling and an atmospheric score by David Whittaker, but I actually found this one to be more enjoyable than the more well-known Psygnosis release. In 1991, Readysoft set about making their own original title, using a number of the same animation techniques that they had learned from Dragon's Lair. Previews of Guy Spy and the Crystals of Armageddon first started to appear in magazines in early 1991. And in Foster's own words, "We've made a name for ourselves for quality animation, and we wanted to try and combine this with a completely playable game." Heavily inspired by both James Bond and Indiana Jones, this World War II set adventure saw you playing through 13 different stages, playing through a number of different gameplay styles. As you'll see in a moment, the critical response to the game was mixed, but I can't find anything online to tell me how well the game did commercially. If I had to guess, based on the fact that it didn't get any sequels or console conversions, it wasn't enough of a success. In 1996, Foster sold Readysoft to a Canadian entertainment company called Malafilm Communications, before he then went off and founded Digital Leisure and reacquired the rights to Dragon's Lair. A Kinect-compatible version was released for Xbox Live Arcade in 2012, and then the full trilogy, or rather the first 2 games and Space Ace, were bundled together on modern consoles in 2019. Let's return to 1992 though, and see what I said about Guy Spy in my original review. My review appeared in issue 36 of Amiga Action from September 1992. It was one of a number of games that I reviewed in that issue, although I have previously covered both Crazy Cars 3 and Premiere in earlier episodes of this series. It was also the same issue that came with the Top 100 supplement that I talked about in the Christmas special. Guy Spy was only deemed worthy of a single page review, which was never a good start, and I stated right off the bat that I'd not enjoyed any of the previous games by Readysoft, likening them to mega expensive interactive demos. I must point out that at that time, my only experience of them was the Amiga versions and not the arcade originals. I stated that the graphics and animation were excellent, but that both the music and sound effects didn't match the quality of the visuals. I also pointed out that although the game had 3 difficulty levels, there was very little difference between them, and you would probably still end up finishing the game quite quickly. Graphically, this is great, using the same big sprites we've come to expect. The game itself would be quite good, but it is ruined by slow movement of the characters. I awarded it a score of just 71%, stating that it was more worthwhile than both Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, but that it was also overpriced at £30. Here's how my score compares to the ones that appeared in other Amiga magazines that month. Now let's see if I still feel the same way about the game. It's time for the playtest. So there's definitely a instantly recognisable style to the Readysoft animation in games. So the action kicks off straight away with Max receiving notification of where Baron von Max is, and so he heads off to the Berlin train station to start on his adventure. So this first stage is shoot the enemies with the target before they shoot you. Not exactly massively advanced. I almost died then as well. The backgrounds have definitely got a lot of nice detail to them, and everything is exceptionally well animated. So those are definite pluses. Now, as enjoyable as this level of the game is, you can't miss a single shot, otherwise it's instant failure, and you only get 6 bullets. Oh, that's it. I'm gonna fail. You can see in the bottom left hand corner it shows you how many times you've been shot as well. Every time that game over screen appears, you need to press the fire button really quickly, so then you can carry on. If you wait too long, then it will return you to the title screen and you'll have to play the Berlin train station shootout again. This is definitely much more enjoyable than the first stage, but the controls are still a little bit unresponsive. As you can see, the guards on the other cable car do occasionally get themselves a stick of dynamite that they're about to throw. Here we go, he's going to throw some dynamite. And I don't think Guy could have survived that. Only time you don't have to push a direction is when they get into the middle to start throwing a stick of dynamite at you. Such as there. And I think that's it. Yes, success. Now the objective of this level is to simply walk past the woman and through the door. Probably one of the most frustrating things I've ever had to do in gaming. I mean, brilliantly animated, without question. Yes, managed it. Oh, brilliant! That's the quickest I've ever done that. And now we're on to the skiing section. And this is just simply avoid the obstacles until you can get to the bottom. Oh, and Baron von Max was not very happy. And so off I jet to Egypt. Well, not yet, obviously. This is probably the longest section of the game. We have to make... Oh no, I fell down a hole, so the world is doomed. The music definitely sets the atmosphere well, even if it is a little bit repetitive. I have no idea if I'm going the correct way or not. Would be nice if the game did actually give you some kind of indication if you are heading in the correct direction. That's a big purple scary spider. There don't seem to be any additional moves that I can use here. It's just a case of kill him before he kills me by the look of it. Why did he turn? You... Oh dear, he squished my head. The controls for each section are kept incredibly simple. And on this one, you just press the fire button to swing your sword, and then you rotate with left and right. Hopefully this is one of those things where the maze will be identical every time you play. Otherwise this could get incredibly annoying. That is, as opposed to being just mildly annoying. Okay. Is he just going to walk into the fire, is he, or...? Oh no, you can just jump over it. There's definitely a lot more to the gameplay than just simply tapping buttons to advance the animation like in the Dragon's Lair games, but it's still not very enjoyable, I must admit. This level has really dragged the pace of the entire thing down, hasn't it? Right, if I don't find my way out or die in the next few moves, then I think that's probably going to be a good place to end the playtest. Oh, fell down a hole again, died. Right, there we go. That's going to be the end of the playtest then. So let's get on and summarise my feelings in the re-review. There are clearly many talented artists and animators who worked on Guy Spy. Every single cutscene and level features rich backgrounds and characters full of personality. The music too sets the tone perfectly, although I must admit that having the same loop go over and over again as you replay a level did make me want to turn it off eventually. All of the good work on the presentation though is undone when it comes to the actual gameplay. A mixture of unresponsive controls and bad collision detection makes many of the stages incredibly frustrating to play, and even the good ones, like the cable car shootout and the skiing, are unforgiving in how much they punish you for even the slightest mistake. The good thing is that you do get an infinite number of retries as long as you press the fire button in time, so as long as you don't turn the game off, you'll never have to replay any of the early ones. At the end of the day, the sad fact is that you probably got more enjoyment out of watching the game than I got from actually playing it. It was a bold experiment to try and inject more gameplay into the output from the developers, but ultimately a failed one. I think today I would actually rather play the Amiga version of Dragon's Lair than this. Interactive movies are a hard thing to get right, and there aren't that many on the Amiga that are worth playing. You only need to look at where Guy Spy sits in the Super League to see that. A score of 71% is obviously way too high for something that feels this bad to play, and no amount of great animation can disguise that. Today's score is going to be 3 out of 10. Thank you for watching this episode of the re-review. I really hope you enjoyed it. We have a playlist of all the previous episodes in this series right here on the channel, and there should be a link to it on screen right now if you want to catch up on any that you've missed. All opinions expressed in this video are entirely mine and not those of the UK Gaming Network team. If you've played Guy Spy, I would love to hear what you thought of it and whether or not you agree with me. Please let me know your opinions in the comments. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe to show your support for the channel, and I'm going to be back in 2 weeks' time where I'm going to be re-reviewing Captain Dynamo from Codemasters. Until next time, happy retro gaming, bye for now.